Imagine a heat so thick you could taste it. It is 2 a.m. in July 1920, and nobody is sleeping inside. Today, we live in a world of eternal 72 degrees. We press a button, and the heat vanishes. But for our great-grandparents, cool air wasn't a utility, it was a luxury. It was a battle for survival against an invisible enemy, the heat. Welcome to TimeLens Archives. Let's turn back the temperature. Early electric fans were powerful, but dangerous. The metal cages had gaps wide enough for fingers. To understand the struggle, you must understand the trap. The city in 1920 was a brick oven. Buildings were made of masonry. They absorbed the sun all day. It wasn't just the heat, it was the smell. In 1920, horses still roamed the streets, combined manure with 100-degree asphalt, and radiated it back all night. Inside, the temperature could stay near 90 degrees at midnight. And fashion didn't help. A gentleman wore a three-piece wool suit. A lady wore stockings and corsets. There was no casual Friday. Propriety was more important than comfort. For women, beauty was a struggle. Heavy powders and creams simply melted off the face by noon. Deodorant was in its infancy. People washed, but within an hour, the city's grime would cling to sweat again. So, how did they survive without going mad? They engineered their lives around the airflow. The commute was an endurance test. Streetcars were rolling greenhouses, baking commuters in the afternoon sun. Sunday service was a test of faith. The rhythmic wave of cardboard fans was the only breeze in the pews. Solution number 1, architecture. Notice the high ceilings? Heat rises. High ceilings gave the hot air a place to go, far above your head. In the South, they built shotgun houses, all doors aligned perfectly from front to back. Open the front door, open the back door, and you create a wind tunnel, nature's AC. But opening windows meant inviting insects inside. Sticky flypaper was the only defense. But the real savior was the porch. It wasn't just an entryway, it was the living room of the summer. Even the animals knew the drill. Find the shade, lie on the dirt, and don't move. Families would migrate outside after dinner, not for the view, but because the house was unbearable. And when night fell, they didn't go back in. Enter the sleeping porch. A screened-in sanctuary where you could sleep under the breeze, safe from mosquitoes. But what if you lived in the city with no porch? You went up. The fire escape became the urban bedroom. Risky? Yes, but better than roasting inside. During the worst heat waves, parks turned into massive open-air dormitories. But airflow wasn't enough. You needed cold. And in 1920, cold was a physical object you had to buy. Enter the hero of the summer, the Iceman. Communication was analog. You placed an ice card in your window to tell the driver how many pounds you needed. He carried winter on his back, 50 pounds of frozen water, hauled up 4 flights of stairs. For the kids, the ice wagon was better than an ice cream truck. A shard of ice was a rare treat. This block was the heartbeat of the kitchen. It kept the milk from spoiling and the butter from melting. Even with ice, preservation was a gamble. Milk bought in the morning could turn sour by dinner. But it came with a chore. Forget to empty the drip pan, and you'd wake up to a flooded kitchen. For those who couldn't afford a movie, there was the basement, the summer kitchen. Many homes had a second kitchen underground. Cooking downstairs kept the heat out of the living quarters. And on the hottest days, the city provided a geyser, the fire hydrant. The city tried to fight back. Water wagons sprayed the streets, creating a momentary hiss of steam. Strictly speaking, it was illegal to open them, but even the police looked the other way when it hit 100 degrees. Or you escaped to the water, not a chlorinated pool, but the swimming hole. Diet changed too. Heavy stews were out, cold watermelon and salads were in. Prohibition was in full swing. So, the saloon was replaced by the soda fountain. An ice-cold phosphate was the worker's reward. The click of the glass on marble, the fizz of carbonation, and the small mercies in a boiling world. As the sun set, the air didn't cool down much. It just changed color. Laundry dried in minutes, but ironing it required heating up the stove again. A vicious cycle. When the sun went down, the heat didn't leave. So, they improvised the wet sheet trick. Hanging a damp sheet in front of an open window or a fan created a primitive evaporative cooler. Others abandoned the bed entirely. Heat rises, so the floor was the coolest place in the house. Even the bathtub became a bed. The porcelain felt cold against the skin. Of course, if you were wealthy, you didn't suffer. You escaped. The summer colony was born. Husbands stayed in the city to work, while families fled to the coast or mountains. For the poor city kids, there was charity. The Fresh Air Fund sent thousands of children to farms. For many, it was the first time they saw a cow or felt a breeze that didn't smell like asphalt. Back in the city, the heat took a psychological toll. They called them the dog days. Tempers flared. Crime rates rose with the thermometer. The city was a powder keg waiting for a spark. Industry suffered too. Chocolate melted. Printing paper warped in humidity. White-collar work offered no escape. Offices were stifling boxes of stagnant air and cigarette smoke. Humidity was the enemy of paperwork. Ink smudged, and paper curled like dried leaves. Enter Willis Carrier. He didn't invent AC for people. He invented it for paper. The first machines were massive, loud, and dangerous, not for homes, but for factories. The smartest people went to the library. Thick stone walls and high domes held the cool air of the night before. If your porch and your icebox weren't enough, there was one place of refuge: the cinema. Movie theaters were the first public spaces to install primitive air conditioning. They called it manufactured weather. By the late 22nd, department stores caught on. Shoppers would linger just to stay cool. Capitalism realized comfortable people buy more things. It would take decades for AC to reach the home window, but once it did, American culture changed forever. Before AC, the heat forced us outside. It forced us to talk to our neighbors. Today, the streets are empty. We are cool, comfortable, and isolated. We gained comfort, but we lost the front porch culture. Without the hum of AC compressors, the nights were quieter. You could hear the city breathe. Our ancestors were tougher than us. They didn't just survive the heat, they lived in it. Next time you turn down the thermostat, spare a thought for the Iceman. Join the journey. Subscribe to TimeLens Archives to unlock the next chapter of history. Thanks for watching.